Greetings, New Worlders. Jerk here with a quick guide for gathering and crafting. Have you spammed global trying to figure out where the oil is? Have you given yourself an aneurysm trying to figure out why you can't track iron nodes? Fear not, I'm here to help. The gathering and crafting system is actually very, very simple in this game. I think people are struggling more with learning the interface of a game that they're not familiar with than the actual task itself, if that makes sense. So let's start with that. By default, the button to open up this menu is K. This will open up this screen, and whichever one of these tabs you were on last time you were in this screen is the one that it will open to. We want trade skills. You'll see that I did a significant amount of trade skill grinding during the 10-day preview. Anyway, this menu has not only the actual trade skills themselves, or crafting skills, but it's also got refining, which will help you make the materials that you need for the higher level crafting. And the gathering is part of this menu as well. I actually like that they put that all in together. It fits well. Let's start with the gathering. First question. Where do I find... Insert resource here. I'm going to make this extremely simple for you. You don't find it in here. You could find it by spamming global, but to be honest, people get tired of answering where to find hemp 800 times in the first 20 minutes, so probably not the best way to make friends. There are multiple different sites that have a lot of this information, not nearly all of it. This one specifically, if you look in the top right, it says suggest a resource. I haven't actually checked this myself, but this leads me to believe that it's not like a wiki where anyone can put in whatever they want. This is something where people submit a resource location, and then it looks like these people check it before they put it on their map. If you want to fact check that, there's a Discord button right here. I'm pretty sure they'd be happy to answer that question. But the first time you open this up, it's going to look like this. A bit of a nightmare. Go to the side menu over here. Filters. Hide all. Make everything go away. Go away. There it is. Our glorious 10-day preview map. Let's go with one of the most commonly asked. Where's the hemp? Where do I find hemp? You find hemp at all of these spots. All of them. So whatever it is that you're looking for the role players, you got your fungus for your dyes. Cranberries for your defense recovery food. Berries for your corruption tinctures. It's all here. Doesn't have to be plants. It's got a tremendous amount of information in here, actually. Let's see what's in NPCs. Did they actually implement that? I would be shocked. They did. Look at that. Where is Magistrate whatever so I can finish this quest because it doesn't show up on my map correctly? Look it up on here if you have to. It's probably going to be in the town that you picked the quest up from. But anyway, let's uncheck that. Where do I find elk cows? Check the box. It'll tell you. So this is pretty straightforward, self-explanatory. I will put the link for this in the description when I post it over to YouTube. But this is super, super, super helpful. But again, remember, not everything is on here. There is plenty of stuff. I know of a few myself, actually, that people who found them didn't want to put in here for mass public knowledge because they want to farm it themselves when the next iteration opens, and they don't want 800 people trying to farm the same node that they're on. But just as a starting point, somebody's hammering my face in town. This is a great reference point. This is a great place to start. So that's where you find blah, 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 blah. And that should pretty much cover where you find what for this stuff. As far as, for example, why can't I track iron? If you actually go into mining, or any of these, I'm using mining as the example, it tells you not only what skill level the node unlocks at, but also when you can start tracking it. So if you can't track iron, you're either not near it, or you haven't reached 25 skill in mining yet. Same concept all the way down. 300 is not the cap on the gathering. That's simply where the tracking and unlocked abilities, if you will, end. There's nothing else after that as of right now. But you can continue to skill higher than that. And the higher your skill is, the better your chances are of getting the rare materials from each one. So for example, from ore nodes, you will get gems, and you will get, I don't think they have a name, but it's the catalysts or regents or whatever you want to call it for attunements. So one of them is like, do I have any here? Where? Porta potty. I don't want a porta potty. Storage locker. I don't have it in here. But for example, adamant is one of the materials that you will commonly farm from stone and iron. You can use that during armor crafting to attach the durable trait onto your armor. It doesn't always, it's not a 100% thing that they will add that perk, but it does significantly increase the chances that it will. So same thing here. Logging, weirdwood, you can gather at 200, trackable 225. Ironwood, gather it at 250, you can track it when you hit 300. Harvesting, it's all in there. Tracking and skinning, same thing. As far as the crafting, how do I level blah? I think the most popular one that I've seen is how do I level my engineering? The answer is the same for all of them. Whatever the thing is that you're trying to level, just do that thing. So let's go with the most popular one, engineering. How do I level up to make star metal arrows? How do I get to 30? You do this stuff before it. So if you go in this menu and you hover over, it'll actually give you the recipes. If you're simply trying to grind levels to get skill ups to unlock the higher tier stuff as you progress, I recommend generally going with whatever the highest number is in one of these bubbles for the least amount of materials. So, steel skinning knife is 7 ingots, 3 wood, and 2 leather. Versus a bow is 12 lumber, 5 leather, 3 silk. Generally speaking, these are going to be easier to make. But it's the same skill level for them. Realistically, for engineering specifically, I would just probably slam a whole bunch of arrows. Because even if you don't use them all to level your own bow, other people will buy them. But in the beginning, if you do want to try to make some quick bucks, tools are a very, very, very popular item. So you can start with that if you want to do engineering. But it's the same throughout. And the refining ties into the crafting. So unless you go out and kill some bad guys and get some equipment to drop off of them and then salvage that equipment to get a return on the materials, you're not just naturally going to find a steel ingot sitting out in the wild. You can't go mine a steel ingot. So how do we get them? It is smelting. There's the recipe right there. I would need 3 iron ingots 2 pieces of charcoal, and oh, that's why everyone's asking for oil, because now it takes oil to do it. Now I get it. But it tells you what all the regions are. So if you wanted to just figure out what your path was to get where you want to go and just farm fat stacks of materials, you're not going to go wrong over farming. And what I mean by that is, hypothetically, you farm too many materials for steel and you get up to 35 and you no longer need steel, you need star metal, right? If I go into smelting for star metal, shocking, I need steel. Typically speaking, with the refining category, anything that you're going to make requires the tier before it as one of the components. It's not true in every single instance, but for the most part. What I do recommend is try to stick to gathering the high tier stuff as you can, as you unlock it through the gathering. Meaning, if you want to make a giant batch of orichalcum ingots, don't go farm iron and then turn it into steel and then start with the star metal. Get the star metal done, then go get your ori ore and then smelt the ingots that way. But if you're focusing on crafting and gathering, and your skill will naturally progress as you go through this, that's really all there is to it with the crafting. The other couple of things that I wanted to show you. Find a crafting station. I don't need a sword. Where's the forge? Where am I? The sword's fine. Outfitting station. What I wanted to show you was, if you go into the crafting menu for whatever item it is that you want to make, it'll show you the different tiers and the different skill level required to make it, along with the crafting station level required to make it. If you're going to be doing crafting, instead of constantly asking, where is a tier X whatever station, just kind of make your rounds through the territory. You'll start to realize that as different companies start to take over different territories, it's very rare that they're all gonna level the same thing, even if they're enemies and they don't get along with each other, right? Let's say I own a territory and you are my worst enemy. If you have a tier 5 forge that I can go make weapons at and just have to pay a little bit of tax, I'm not going to go pay more than I'm going to pay in tax to level my own forge. I'm going to go level something else so I have access to that and yours. So, especially early in the game, it's very, very, very rare that you're going to see any one settlement that has high level everything, or they're leveling everything at once. It typically just doesn't happen. The reason I bring that up is to make your life easier and save you some time. So, let's say Morningdale, you happen to take note that Morningdale on your server has a tier 4 smelting station. I would want to focus my ore gathering around that settlement, because then I only have to bring it back to here, as opposed to worrying about, okay, well now I need to run all the way back to Weaver's Fen, or worse, Everfall, or I need to go farm Azoth and spend time doing that when I want to be trying to level my crafting to get teleporty dollars, that's what I call Azoth, to get back over to where the high tier smelter is. So take note of where the different stations are being leveled and focus the materials that you need. Harvest them as close to that as possible. So you can reference that map that I showed you, figure out what the closest stuff is. Start with that. If it's farmed out, just go to the next closest one. So that is the tiers, but that is not all I wanted to show you in here. 1, 2, 3 different options inside, and this is on everything. So here's a hat, right? Let's go jewelry. Jewelry, you can socket. You should be able to put a perk on rings. What? Oh, okay, so it's different tiers. But you'll see up to, so starting at tier 2, looks like starting at tier 3 has all 3 options. So once you get to tier 3 in crafting, you'll have 3 different things that are optional for you to do while crafting. If you're just trying to slam levels, this is something you may actually want to take into consideration. You're going to be, let's use jewel crafting because we're on that. The higher the gear score of the item is that you craft, the more crafting experience you get for it. One of the ways that you can kind of cheese the crafting experience by boosting the gear score is by using this stuff. So let's again focus specifically jewel crafting. If I'm going to be jewel crafting, I know that I'm going to be mining. If I know that I'm going to be mining, I know that I'm going to get things like the adamant catalyst that I mentioned to you. So let's click in add special resource for a second. These are all of the different special resources that you can add onto this recipe to get a much, much higher chance at rolling that perk. If you're just trying to level the stuff, any of this stuff you get, like durable is garbage. There's no reason for you to put durable on anything ever. Just don't do it if you're going to use the gear. But if I just want to level my jewel crafting and I start attaching all of these adamant chunks and slivers and shards onto the stuff that I'm crafting, it's going to boost the gear score of the item and I'm going to get more experience for it. So this is one easy way to get more bang for your buck per craft. You can also add Azoth, however people pronounce it. By default, they say Azoth. Add Azoth to increase perk chance, and you have different tiers. I don't necessarily recommend that you do this. If you saw the power leveling yourself and easy, quick, legendary weapon farming video that I did, your Azoth is probably better spent on the faction gear for your tier 5 stuff. And then secondarily, after that, I would go with the different potions that are in there, depending on what you need. So I wouldn't really use this. Once you get into the higher tier crafting, you're not going to want gear in endgame that doesn't have a socket. I don't know that I've seen a socketed ring yet, but this is on here now, which wasn't previously, so maybe you can socket rings now. More definitely armor and weapons. You're never gonna have a weapon that is much better than what you can get from a super easy portal cache or super easy legendary quest, unless it has a socket on it. +5 to whatever main stat is a huge deal, especially when you're talking about 1, 2, 3 weapon slots, 5 armor slots. So that's +40 to whatever stat you end up socketing. Sockets are super, super, super important. When you get to the end game of the crafting, you're going to be doubling. I'm pretty sure you double it. Yep. So to get the highest chance of getting a socket in the thing that you're crafting, it's double the cost of whatever the primary region is. So for this ring, it's orichalcum ingots. Like for bows, it's ironwood planks. It's different for everything, but you're going to want sockets on all your top tier stuff. So this is how you cheese extra experience during your crafting. The other thing I recommend is, unless you're making something that is a big seller, meaning weight reduction bags, gathering tools, lucky equipment, unless you're making that, like if I'm just going to make a whole crapload of silver soldier rings, don't bother trying to sell 200 of these rings on the trade post. They're going to sit there. You're going to pay listing fees. If anyone buys it, you're going to pay tax on it and not end up making a tremendous amount anyway. With the lower tier stuff, after you craft it, just salvage it, because you're going to get some of those ingots back, and you can use those ingots to pump into more rings to get more levels to blast through it. The whole deal with crafting is the race to the top tier stuff. The quicker you get there, the quicker you can start to be a filthy rich crafter. They are definitely the most gold heavy people in the game, for sure. That pretty much covers it for the crafting. One thing I would focus on, even if you don't want to do any of the crafting, for everyone, I would do cooking, for sure. You're gonna need food buffs, even if they get nerfed, which, God, I hope they get nerfed because they're ridiculous right now. You're gonna need food buffs. Even if you're not going to use it for PvP, they are tremendously helpful, even if you're just gonna PvE. I would level food. And the way that I would do it is figure out where you find a big chunk of food resources, and then the highest tier thing that you can craft from that. I have a visitor. Hello, Egalt. So, cooking, for example. Where is it? I believe it's a harvesting food, harvesting cornbread. Cornbread is corn and herbs. Corn is super easy to farm. Herbs are also super easy to farm. Use the resource map that I gave you. But cabbage, for example. Cabbage you're only going to get from provisions crates. Wheat, potatoes, spices, melons. These are things you're only going to get from provisions crates. So you do want to craft the highest thing you possibly can, because remember, the higher the number, the more experience you get per craft. And it looks like you only have to get to 54 to make the very top tier food in the game. I'm going to be honest, I really didn't do a whole lot, and my cooking is 40. So this one is fairly easy for everybody, and there's definitely a huge benefit. Also, with the cooking, you don't necessarily have to worry about going to find a T5 kitchen. Once you're 50 plus, at least the way it is right now, your camp that you can craft at is a tier 5 camp. So you should be able to craft all of that at your camp. That's pretty much it. I do hope it helps. If it does help, or you know someone that was asking these questions and it'll help them, by all means, share. More importantly, I think, would be the fast ramp up video. I think that's going to be more helpful to more people, but who knows? What do I know? I'm just a jerk in yellow clothes, running back and forth. Good luck. Happy New Worlding. I will see you next time. Jerk signing off.